You're listening to the Virtually Reimagined podcast with me, Betsy Sabatini. This is where we're creating success leading from anywhere. If you're ready to learn how to build connection, confidence, and success in the digital space, you've come to the right podcast. Okay, let's get started. Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 4. And today we're talking about repurposing tips. Now, this topic comes up because so many people who come into my classes over the last 5 years have learned how to give a live Zoom call and record themselves. And if that's you, think about how many times you have been in a live Zoom call and then those recordings are just sitting there somewhere. Maybe they're in your Zoom cloud, maybe they're in your Google cloud, your Google Drive folder is also in the cloud. Maybe you've downloaded them and put them on an external hard drive. Well, all of those videos have content. They've got your genius recorded. And so in repurposing, we talk about how to take that content and then turn it into other content, repurpose it into something like an Instagram story or a Facebook reel. So in this episode, I've got some tips for you. So stay with me because I'll bring you all the way through like what it's like to set yourself up to record. But you want to do these things prior to recording so that you have it set so that when the recording comes out, you can easily repurpose it. Now, one of the things is most important is framing yourself in a way that you have what we're going to call vertical safe zones. So if you were to, let's say, sit close to your computer when you are recording on Zoom and your face is framed in the video feed, you can imagine all those little video thumbnails that we see in like the gallery view on Zoom, and everybody's in their own little video feed, and so are you, but it's only from, let's say, your shoulders up to your head. Well, when you repurpose that, and you take that same video, you do what's called cropping. You actually can put it in video editing. You can put it into a frame that fits a phone screen. So it's more vertical, like you can picture your mobile phone. Well, what that does is it cuts out all of the space that is to the left and to the right of you. And what you end up having is a story feed, a video, which is showing up in someone's phone as they're watching you on social media. And it's only your face. And you think about that's not, first of all, you don't want just your face, like from your chin to your forehead being on the frame. It also doesn't let you put other things on the screen, like text. You might want to put some text on the screen or some sort of overlay, and it does not leave any room for that. So one of the first main tip, most important tip, is to frame yourself with vertical safe zones in mind. And for that, you're going to sit a bit farther back, so your head and shoulders fit comfortably in that vertical crop. So you want to keep in mind, you want to leave space above your head, and you also don't want to, in a sense, put anything on that top edge. So if there is, something in your camera site that is on that top edge, you want to leave that clear. You may even want a clear wall behind you. And you want to keep your eyes roughly in the top third of the frame so that when you're recording, you can see your eyes in the camera frame, and make sure your eyes are in about the top third, not dead center. So to explain this, inside a Zoom recording, you would have to literally move yourself away from the camera. Now, we did this in one of our recordings. And if you are using a microphone that is placed on your desktop or is even attached to your computer, your sound is going to change when you move away from the camera. And as we did this in one of our recent reels, we recorded away from the camera, as you can see, like this. And when I was recording, I was seated away from the camera. And if you're just listening in now and you want to see some of these examples, come join us over on YouTube. You can watch this same podcast episode with the examples that we were using. And you can see that one part, you might be recording your Zoom close to the camera, and in another way, you can record away from the camera. And that might mean that your webcam is in a tripod and it is at least 2 arms lengths away from the camera. That's what you're going to want to do. Now, with audio, you want to make sure that your audio stays with you. And so I am using a lavalier mic. And so that's what's attached to my lapel. It is Bluetooth. So it connects to the computer in a way that no matter where I go, the sound stays with me. And Zoom is able to be told which sound you're using, so which microphone you're using. So you want to make sure you check that as well in your Zoom settings. In addition to that, we talked about that vertical space above you. You want to make sure that you give yourself text space on either side. As you can see in this video, if you're watching us, we have an overlay on the screen like this. And so either overlays or some graphics, you want to leave room for those when you are recording. You want to make sure that if you do want that text on the screen, that maybe you put yourself off center a little bit and you can keep room either on the left or the right to where you want those overlays to appear. You're also going to avoid some busy shelves or clutter behind you. And therefore, when someone's watching or looking at or reading text that's on the screen, it's clear to them. The next tip is when you're recording is to use HD video and the best camera you have. And inside Zoom, you can enable your settings for HD recording. And you can also set yourself up with a webcam that is, if you have the ability, is full HD, what we call 1080p. Now, this would most likely be an external webcam if you want, because laptop webcams that come with your laptop, the ones that are built in, sometimes are not HD quality or the best cameras possible. They might be grainy. So you want to make sure that if you're looking for quality, you'll get better quality if you add on an external webcam. And if you're using your built-in webcam, because I'll tell you, I'm a proponent of using what you have, and you can take a built-in webcam, and which I'm using right now with my MacBook, but you want to make sure that that webcam is cleaned properly. So you want to take a clean cloth, a microfiber cloth, make sure that lens is clean. So our next tip is lighting. So we just talked about if you're using what you've got a built-in webcam and you're going to use that, then you want to make sure your lighting source is as good as possible. And so you always want to make sure you have a light source in front of you and not behind you. If you do have a natural light source available, you might want to face that light source. You can only get that at certain times of day when the sun is out. You do want to avoid strong light behind you because that's going to cause a shadow on your face. And before you record, check out Zoom's preview so that you can see what you look like prior to recording. You can also use Zoom settings for adjusting to low light if for some reason you don't have the equipment available to you. Now in here, I've got 2 lights that are on in addition to a ceiling light. Now, if your face is evenly lit and your eyes are visible, then you're good to go. If you notice that there is shadow on one side of your face, then bring more light in on that side of the room. All right, so our next tip is audio. As we mentioned earlier, the audio that you have set up for your regular Zoom meetings might be something that is built in. It's built into your computer. And if you're doing what we talked about, the most important thing is that you're not right up close to your computer. So you want to make sure that that audio is set up to follow you anywhere, what we'll call social ready. We want that audio to be able to be quality enough for your repurposing. So you are going to use a dedicated microphone, and that microphone, it could be a headset, it could be earbuds, or in this case, a Bluetooth lavalier mic. And you want to make sure before you start recording that you go into Zoom and look at your audio settings, because it'll tell you which microphone it thinks you're using. And if your computer has a microphone built in, but you're also wearing a wireless microphone, well, you're going to need to tell Zoom that you're using the wireless mic for that recording. And then I'd recommend that you do a 10 to 20 second test recording and then listen back. So you can record, stop the recording. You'll have to end the meeting because that's when the recording is processed. Watch the recording and then make any adjustments as needed. Doing all these steps for audio leaves you with a clean, clear voice. And when you repurpose your clips, you'll feel professional, even on tiny phone speakers that people are listening to you on social media. The next tip has to do specifically with Zoom. And if you are recording your live Zoom call with other people there, you have the ability with Zoom to take pieces out of there and use them for your repurposing. But you'd want to make sure that your face is on the camera each time, if that's what you desire. And so making sure you lock in the right Zoom recording layout is so important. So if you are the star, you're the one that wants to be on camera for your repurposed clips, you want to make sure that if it's just you talking, that you spotlight or pin yourself. Because when you spotlight yourself in Zoom, you are on camera all the time, no matter what noise is coming out in the meeting. Of course, you could also mute everyone except you. And then it's a guarantee that only your voice is coming through the recording and your face. But I do always use the spotlight just in case, because if someone were to unmute themselves and make a little noise, it wouldn't really matter because the spotlight would take over as the video layout. Another layout for you to look at is the recording layout. And if you are recording locally to your computer or to the cloud. Now, keep in mind, when you record to your computer in Zoom, it's called a local recording, and it records directly to the computer that you are using for that live Zoom call. It also means that if you were to move the screen during the recording picks up on that. However, if you record to the cloud lets you record in multiple formats. But keep in mind, you've got to go in there before you record to enable those settings. Another tip that we talked a little bit about earlier is keeping your background simple and stable. So your background becomes the frame behind you in every reel. So you want to choose a consistent, simple background, maybe a plain wall or bookshelf or a neat office corner. And if you use a virtual background, please test it out carefully. You want to make sure that your hair doesn't disappear, which can happen with virtual backgrounds. And you also want to make sure you have terrific lighting, because with virtual backgrounds, as long as your face is well lit, and I mean exceptionally well lit, it usually makes it look like the virtual background is a natural background. And so you also want to avoid moving objects behind you. And so if you happen to be recording your live Zoom in a busy coffee shop, you can do that. You want to make sure you set your audio noise background removal to high so that that background speech is not picked up on your Zoom. Because if you were wearing a headset with a microphone, you could pull it off. But I would say only if you want that look for your socials. If you know that you're going to be repurposing and you're going to be cutting out part of that background, then think about what's behind you before you start recording. Our next tip is to sit still and stay inside of that crop box. So as you see me, for those who are watching this podcast on YouTube, you can see that I'm staying pretty still inside this frame. And even more importantly, as you can see when we recorded earlier, and I was away from the camera like this, I stayed still while I was recording my lines and looking into the camera. So this situation might be more real if I had a table in front of me and the table made me stay still. So you can imagine yourself sitting at the table with the wall behind you and the camera at least 2 arms lengths away from you. Beautiful. So our next tip is the energy that you bring to the camera when you're speaking in your Zoom call. So here we go. You want to make sure you check your eye line and your energy. And that's in that little test we mentioned earlier. So as I'm looking at the camera right now, I can't see anyone except the little light that's on the camera right there. But if I had people in my Zoom with me and I was looking around at them, it would look something like this. And so if I am the thought leader in the room and I am telling them, yes, that's exactly how you live stream from Zoom to Facebook. I'm not looking directly at the camera like I am now. And so you want to think about this for repurposing, that when you're in your live Zoom call, teach to the camera, tell your gems the things you know so well because you're a thought leader in that content arena. And then that's your genius getting recorded on the camera. And as you look at your participants who might be in the gallery and you're not looking at the camera, you're looking at them because you want to acknowledge them. Well, then that part doesn't have to be caught in the repurposing to socials, just the part where you're talking about what you know best. So to accomplish this, you want to raise your laptop up. Mine is right now, it's on a stand, which keeps my camera eye level in my laptop. It's very possible that this could be you. You can see the difference in my head angle. So you want to make sure you raise your laptop or webcam so that your lens is eye level. You also want to do a quick posture and energy check. So sit tall, smile, give a bit more expression. You know, I am one that I get energized when there are people in the room. So my Zoom calls, I've got tons of energy. When I'm recording and there's no one in the room, that one's a little harder for me. And I've got to get the energy going, maybe do a little dance ahead of time. So depending on what raises your energy, maybe you get a little nervous when there are people in the room, just do a quick check before your live call starts and make sure your energy is up. And those are all good things to do while your people, your participants are in the waiting room. So also make sure that you've got a waiting room available in your Zoom meetings so that people are there, they've arrived, but they're not in your room with you before you start your live call. And now our final tip is to do that 20-second test recording. So as mentioned earlier, when you do your test, you want to start a Zoom meeting. So it'd be a live Zoom meeting. You're going to hit record to the cloud, and then you're going to talk for 20 to 30 seconds and then stop and then end the meeting. You're going to end the meeting because that's when your recording starts processing. And when the recording is done, it won't take very long for a 30-second recording. Go ahead and play it while it's in the cloud. You can see it, listen to it. You could even, if you wanted to, download it and then edit it and see where it lines up when you edit it for your stories. Just take the video or even just throw it right into your social media app like Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook to create a reel, and you'll see right away. When you're done editing and doing this test recording, just go back to the cloud and delete the recording there, just to clean up the tests that you did so that when you're ready to record for real, your cloud is ready to go. Thanks for tuning in to the Virtually Reimagined podcast. I hope today's episode gave you a spark of inspiration for your own virtual business journey. And if you loved what you heard, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share it with a friend who's building their own dream online. And until next time, keep creating success, leading from anywhere.